forget it. I ain't never had no trophy or no motherfucking ribbon. Fuck the system, I'm that nigga. Bend the law, cut the rules. I'm about to risk it all. I ain't got too much to lose. Y'all been eating long.
What up, everybody?
With my drink, this my day. Lucky you, fuck you too.
Woo! What up?
What up? Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Week 10 edition of Sailor Jerry's Saturdays Fantasy Football Show. Once again, I'm here with my friends Jake and Josh. Say hi, guys.
Hi, guys.
So let's get right into it. We're going to start here with the power rankings. And what we're going to do is just kind of roll through them and see if anything at all has changed since last week. So, Jake, go ahead. Why don't you start with your power rankings for this week?
Yeah, a couple things changed in my power rankings specifically. I still have at the top, it's pretty much the same. I still have Dorf number 1 and Baz number 2. And I feel like if Dorf continues to win, then he deserves to be at the top. So he's 8-1 right now. I don't think he has. Right now, he's pretty much playing for a bye in the playoffs, and I think he's obviously most likely going to get it. Basla, I think his team's a little bit stronger than Dorf's, but his record's 6-3, and I think he's tied with Keith and Jimmy right now for record-wise. But then I have Keith, absolute units after that. I actually have Trim coming in at the 4 spot this week, the Carpet Munchers. He's got a strong, got a strong squad,
He's been on the rise.
And I'm actually playing him this week. But I think
and it just got stronger too.
Going to break down the matchup later on. But then after that, I got J Mo, Kiss the Baby, and then Trickus coming in 6, Gail Benedict.
Hopefully she's listening.
Yeah,
good old Gail.
Remember when I saved Jake's life in your class back in 8th grade?
When I faked being sick and I fell down.
Yeah, because she refused to open the windows and had us
turn
trapped
on
in
a
there.
fan or
90-degree day.
And so our plan was to get kicked out.
Well, we didn't
go to
we
the office.
didn't have a plan, but I just looked at you from across the room and we nodded at each other, and I just knew. Like, I didn't know what was going to happen, but I just knew.
Because we
whatever
knew the
you were
office,
going to do, I had your back.
office was air conditioned, and we didn't want to be hot anymore.
Just
but the worst part is,
well, to reel it back in,
she kicked Fidelli out,
or not. I mean, if you guys want
and
to
left me there in that hot.
Listen,
hot box.
Here's the thing: you can't name your team Gail Benedict and then have a podcast about the goddamn league and not mention a story in which something hilarious happened in her class. But go ahead, Keith, reel back in.
Keith,
where are we going next?
Well, geez.
Where are we going?
Well, the next thing would be you, Josh. Where are you at with your power rankings?
Oh, yeah, that's right. Power rankings. Well, power rankings to me are not based off of records. That's why they're called power rankings and not league rankings.
Okay, so where are you at on them?
By overall record. So my number 1 team is Basil. He's got the best roster from top to bottom. Number 2, I'll give it to Dorf. Number 1 running back, number 1 receiver combo, even though he's on a bye this week. My 3rd team, I do have Kiss the Baby up there. He does have some key players at key positions. Keith, I put you at number 4.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of running backs, but that's pretty much it. The rest of your team is sorry. So I hope an injury happens to one of those running backs. Not for them personally, but to ruin your season. Carpet Munchers has a really deep team. He kind of got shuffled in the mix last week, but he has a very good squad. Very deep as well. So he's up there at 5. And then I got to give Gail Benedict some love, even though his record doesn't show it. Does have probably a top 3 roster when healthy in the league, but that's fantasy football. So
yeah, right.
That's my top 6.
Yeah, I have a lot of similarities between you guys. I got Baz's team, Sean Archer, at 1. Like you said, Josh, I think he's got the best roster right now in our league. I got Dorf at 2, same reason. He's, the Thielen Gurley combo. That's just, they're the top 2 scorers at their position so far. So that's what it is. I got myself at 3. Maybe it's a little bit of a personal boasting here, but I like my team. I like my depth. I like where I'm at. So I'm sticking with that. I got Jimmy underneath me with Kiss the Baby. His team's also deep. He's dealing with Sammy Watkins, kind of injured right now, not practicing all week. So we'll see if that hurts his team in the future. I got the Carpet Munchers at 5th. Trim has been slowly and quietly working his way up the league since the beginning here, and he's done it with really 12 waiver moves. So he's not. In other words, he drafted well, and he's kind of stuck with his team, and it's worked out 205-4 so far for him. And I got Trickus, Gail Benedict at 6. Like you said, when healthy, his roster is pretty beefy there. He also just acquired Antonio Brown from yours truly, Draj here. So I think that helps his roster out in the future as well. But if nobody gets healthy, he has no shot. So we'll see how that pans out. Moving on to the next subject here, that would be the hot topics of the week. And to start that off, I would just like to simply ask you, Josh, please go ahead and defend trading your AB to the person that you are going to play this week. What was going on with your head there?
Well, here's the thing. You have to take it in context of everything that's going on. It wasn't just one trade. It wasn't one move. I was trying to trade Antonio Brown to multiple people, including Trickus. And there were about 17 trades that got canceled or countered in between the one that finally got passed, including trades with other people throughout the league. AB, as great of a player as he is, I really needed running backs desperately. My 2 running backs that I ended up with after the draft, I was starting Carlos Hyde and Bilal Powell. Well, Bilal Powell just had neck surgery, and Carlos Hyde got traded to Jacksonville into a timeshare where Leonard Fournette's coming back. So I desperately needed to make moves, and that's what I've been doing the last couple of weeks just to try to give myself a chance. Yes, I traded away Antonio Brown, but my current roster as it stands with the trade pending with Trim, which was me sending George Kittle to Trim for Brandon Cooks. Mm-hmm. For receivers, my roster would have Deshaun Jackson, Marquez Valdes-Scantling, Doug Baldwin, Stephon Diggs, and Brandon Cooks. So now I feel like I'm pretty deep at the receiver position. I lost Antonio Brown, but I don't feel bad at all throwing out Stephon Diggs and Brandon Cooks every single week and then trying to rotate in the
you
flex.
Just said that, and Antonio's going to score 3 touchdowns tonight.
He could, but you know what? Carolina's defense has been playing well lately. I know this is on the road. It's in Pittsburgh, right? I believe it's in Pitt.
I'm not sure about that. I think it is.
I think it's in Pittsburgh, but regardless, I think it's going to be a really good game.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, it's in Pitt.
It's going to be a really good game, and I think Carolina's a better team from top to bottom.
I think they definitely are defensively.
Yeah, exactly. And their defense in the early part of the season really wasn't playing great. So I hope he has a bad game. But, I mean, knowing Antonio Brown, he's probably going to go out there and score at least 1 touchdown. But at the end of the day, I think I got deeper at receiver. So what I gave away, I actually, was able to compensate for that. And then when you look at the running back position, instead of Bilal Powell and Carlos Hyde, I now have Mark Ingram, Kerryon Johnson. I picked up Doug Martin and free agency, and I still got Latavius Murray as a handcuff there. So I think my team overall got a little bit deeper, a little bit better. I mean that's my take on the whole thing.
I tend to agree with you, but it's just I just thought it was interesting that you traded to him the week that you're playing him.
Honestly, what really played the role with that was he was the only team in the league besides yours that had the pieces that I wanted that could complete the puzzle for the trade that eventually got done, because I needed running backs. Everybody else in the league is hurting bad at the running back position. You have the number 1, running back depth in the league. And a lot of that was just luck. All right. Not some draft genius over there. But besides you, Trickus had a couple of pieces. And that's about it. I mean, Kiss the Baby, who's high in all of our power rankings, I think he's starting Ito Smith, and has been for the last few weeks. You
don't need to justify it any further.
Well, the running back position itself is just thin. Now. Yeah, it's thin. It's tough this year. It's tough this year.
I understand your logic.
True.
So the next hot topic I would like to bring up, the highly controversial conversation that we all had within the group chat this week about the collusion accusation to our friend Trick. And right off the bat, Jake, I just want to know, how do you feel about the situation, how it all shook out? Just give me your, overall opinion on it.
Now we were referencing the East Coast Elite collusion.
Right. But our friend Josh here decided to open up that can of worms in our own group chat. Yeah.
Okay.
So.
Well, what I feel like personally, I feel like I'm one of the only ones that actually knows Will and Trickus. And I know that all they do is talk all day long about fantasy, and they follow the same apps, they listen to the same people, same podcasts. Everything that they hear is essentially the same. Obviously, they probably do their own research as well. So I don't think Trickus would ever do anything like that. Maybe he would try to talk to him about something, and then all of a sudden it come, and then in that conversation, Big Willie,
right?
Maybe he decided that he wanted to try to get the same person that Trickus was trying to get, because after they're talking and stuff like that, I don't think it was collusion. I just think that it's a matter of them constantly
they're just
listening and
they're
talking.
Good buddies who go off for the same thing. Yeah,
I don't think Trickus would ever do that.
So so Jake, what you're saying is you're very confident that there's no collusion going on in that scenario.
Yeah, there's no collusion going on.
Okay. Now, Josh,
not so fast, bro.
Josh, the first question I have for you is, why did you air all that out in Sailor Jerry Saturdays when it was going on in the other league? What made you make that decision?
Well, because we were already balls deep in a conversation about Charizard holographic Japanese cards. So I figured, why not, since you know the messaging was already open on my phone. But I was getting blown up by 3 different people.
Right.
And then Trickus being the 4th on top of that, while I was trying to construct some NBA DFS lineups, while I was trying to decipher what the hell was going on, and it was chaos and it was madness. But
so before
it is
I ask
kind of, I do got to bring this up before your question, though. It's kind of suspicious that they had the same amount of waiver wire transactions. Like literally, they both had 50
That's where I'm
moves.
on it too. Yeah.
And if you look at the players that Big Willie and Trickus were picking up, they were the same players that Trickus was picking up in Sailor Jerry Saturdays.
Not every time, but multiple
not
times.
Every time, but yes, there were multiple times. Do I think Trickus is a cheater? Absolutely not. I don't think Trickus would cheat. I don't think he has a bad bone or a mean bone in his body, but would I put it past him and Will, his brother-in-law, his family, to be in cahoots as far as like maybe they have a split deal? Like if any one of them cashes, they agreed preseason to split, and
but that is cheating, though.
And that's cheating, right? Exactly. So I don't think Trickus is like a malicious type of a person, and to him, he doesn't view and act like that as cheating. To him, it's just kind of like, oh, well, whatever. And to be honest, I mean, I've done that before in leagues, with other people. Never in this league, but like I get it. But the thing is, you got to be a little smart about it. And I just feel like right from the get-go. So what people that aren't in East Coast Elite, what they won't understand is they need more context. Like, what was it, week 2? The trade between Big Willie and Trickus that got vetoed and shut down by the league?
Chris Hogan for Chris Thompson.
It was Chris Hogan, for Chris Thompson.
Right.
When Nico pointed out, I believe it was Trickus, whoever was receiving Chris Hogan didn't need him. They had like a stacked receiving core, and he was just going to sit the bench. Where Chris Thompson was going off. I mean, he was healthy. It was week 1, but everybody knew his potential from the year before. So that kicked it off. And then there have been multiple trades between Willie and Trickus. There have been, they literally made the same exact waiver wire moves. And by the way, guys, Trickus is first place in East Coast Elite when it comes to waiver wire transactions as well. So he is maintaining his reputation there.
Right.
But it's shady. So that's what I think. would I put it past him for doing that for like a split? No. And is that cheating? Yes. Was I able to prove it? And am I able to prove it? No, I can't. So therefore, I can't accuse him and I can't penalize him for that. But I mean, we talk. It's all good. And again, I don't think he's a cheating type of a person. I don't think he's like maliciously.
No, neither do
shit.
I. Where I'm at on it is what you said earlier. I mean, what we talked about in the chat. Trickus's strategy as far as the waiver wires is, and I said this earlier, nobody else does it. So for someone to copy that kind of strategy to the T, it's kind of, it makes you question what's going on. And then to me, the next most telling thing was the Courtland Sutton trade, where Big Willie picks up Courtland Sutton. 2 days later, he's traded to Trickus for a hurt Chris Thompson, who I guess Trickus was defending himself and saying that he had a chance to play that weekend. But then Big Willie later said that he wasn't even planning on playing him, or he didn't need him. So, I mean, that trade just shaped.
So what happens when you talk a little too much. Sometimes you give up too much info, you end up getting yourself in, So,
So
this is okay. So I think to add on top of that, all right, to be clear for those listeners and viewers out there who don't really know what was going on, the allegations that were brought to my attention last night or 2 nights ago was a certain Francis Micah. Some of you may know who that name refers to. He's in the other fantasy league with us as well, and he happens to have Odell Beckham Jr. on his team. Trickus was doing everything he could to get Odell Beckham. He was spamming him for weeks, okay? Frank came out and said, after getting completely agitated with Trickus's nonsense, he said, look, the only way you're going to get Odell is if you give me Saquon. Trickus has Saquon Barkley. He needed a running back and wanted a running back. Right. Trickus was not going to give up Saquon. So what happened was trade negotiations came to a dead halt. Okay, Trickus stopped texting. Trickus stopped calling. No more Trickus in the picture.
That's dedication.
Couple days later, Big Willie, who happens to be his brother-in-law, happens to have the same amount of waiver transactions, happens to have this whole history of like these little sneaky transactions amongst each other. Big Willie made a trade offer to Frank. And Big
he
Willie
was not
offering
in the picture at all the whole time.
Not in the picture at all the whole time.
After Trick stopped.
And offered 2 running backs, I believe, for one.
It was Collins and Miller.
Yeah.
Collins and Miller for, I don't know if it was Odell, but it was somebody on Frank's team. And I think he asked for Odell too. I think there were multiple trade attempts.
And just to add a little a spice onto that, those 2 running backs that he was trading to Frank were previously traded to him from Trickus. So.
Yes, and that's another great point. I mean, this shit gets me. And see, that's the thing. When you look at all the evidence, when you look at everything,
I'm not giving up Barkley, but what I'm going to do, because Frank's annoyed with me, is I'm going to give you Miller and Collins. And then what you can do when I'm done is you can offer them to Frank for Odell Beckham. And then when that happens, I'll give you back them and you give me Odell.
Right. But everything we just said, 1, it can't be proven, and 2, it's hearsay. So conceivably, if I were to paint a picture, I think what's happened is what you described, Jake, that they're so in each other's head that
or in a split, one of those 2 things. One of those 2 things.
It's impossible they're not talking, and it's impossible that Big Willie.
Oh, they've admitted they're talking.
Yeah, right.
100%.
So
I don't think they're cheating. And
I don't think they're cheating. They're just working alongside.
They just talk. They just talk a lot, but
I
do have
working
a question,
alongside each other is collusion. Go ahead, Jake.
Could be. It could be. There's no way to ever know. So, unless we somehow tap into their Verizon wireless account and get all their text messages. Now, I have a question though on a different subject. I wanted to bring up I want to get your guys' opinion on the Dez Bryant acquisition from the New Orleans Saints, and I want to see what you guys think for how that affects his value. And how it affects other team members' value compared to, obviously, they're probably the best, if not one of the best offenses in the league. So how does that affect a team like the New Orleans Saints when they add Dez Bryant?
Okay, let me go first because I know, Josh, you're going to have a lot of detail to go here. So we'll let you go.
Maybe not.
After.
It's pretty straightforward.
But to me, obviously, that's if it's not the best, it's the number 2 offense. Or
Chiefs,
number 3.
Rams.
Right,
yeah, but they
Rams,
just beat
Chiefs.
the Rams.
Right.
And the Rams got a better defense.
So
even though the Saints can stop the run.
It's Drew Brees, Michael Thomas, Tre'Quan Smith. What they got going on now is, it's great. And they just beat the Rams with that offense. So you could probably say, you can say whatever you want, but it's top 3 at least. They put Cam Meredith on IR and they signed Dez Bryant, who I follow NFL Fantasy on Reddit. They have given him the name Fresh Legs. Reason being is he hasn't been playing all year.
Or last year too. Didn't he get hurt?
I don't remember. I try to forget the Cowboys football seasons after they're done.
I feel you. You see the hat I'm wearing, so
yeah,
we're good.
But anyways, he already. Him learning a route tree is going to be nothing. Drew Brees is amazing. So is he going to get a large stake in that offense? Yeah. Is it worth it to own him on your team? Yeah. What do I see his potential as? I see him as a wide receiver 3 flex play. That's, I think, his ceiling is. I don't think he's not going to win championships for anybody. He's not going to, it's not going to be something crazy, but he's going to be grow into what I think will be a confident flex play. That's what I see his potential as. He's going to come in hungry. He's going to come in with fresh legs. He's knowledgeable of wide receiver. Obviously, he's a big dude. Obviously, he's an enticing red zone target too, but there's so many mouths to feed in that offense. I just think that he's not going to be some crazy fantasy football, resurrection guy.
The old Dez. He's not going to be the old Dez.
Right. No. He's going to be, like I said, a wide receiver, the flex play. That's what I think his potential is. What do you think, Josh?
Well, I think talking real football, Dez Bryant is explosive in his game and his mentality, his emotions as well. But that's the type of guy you want. There's a lot of volatility there, but he's got a chip on his shoulder. Dallas needed a wide receiver more than any other position probably going into camp this year. And obviously Dez has been there his entire career. He was drafted by the Cowboys and they let him go. So that really hurt him. He's been working hard. He's been working out this entire offseason.
Jerry.
It's not like he's coming right off the couch. And again, talking about his emotional intensity, yes, he's going to be playing with a chip on his shoulder, but Dez already plays with a chip on his shoulder.
He's going to bring it every game. He always does.
Yep. And he was asked by a reporter I just saw before we started recording today on ESPN. They asked him why the Saints, because there were other teams that were calling throughout the year, and he referred to he's like, no offense to anybody else, but get to play with Drew Brees, the GOAT, GOAT over there. And then he called out Michael Thomas, Alvin Kamara, called them the baby goats. So
he's
I
happy.
think he understands his
happy,
role. Yeah. He understands his role, though. He's in a great spot. He's on a team that's going to compete for a Super Bowl this year. They are one of the best teams in the NFL.
Definitely.
And with Michael Thomas on the other side, think about it like this. In Dallas, he never had anybody to compliment him. You could try to say Jason Witten, but Jason Witten was just...
There was a time when Miles Austin was there going off.
Okay, actually.
And it was Miles Austin, Jason Witten, and Dez.
Yeah, but how does the Dez pickup affect the other players in the offense? Does it?
I don't think it
affect them. Does it not affect them at all, or?
I think no, I don't think it really affects them that much. I think overall for the team, it makes their team that much better because now defenses have to game plan and have to prepare for Dez as well. So before, especially with the injuries to Teddy Ginn and to Cameron Meredith, now teams can really try to focus in on Michael Thomas and just shut him down, make other guys beat him. Now, the Rams didn't do that.
Successful. Yeah,
I know Michael Thomas kind of went off, but he has had a couple of games this year where he's only gotten 7 or 8 targets, but he catches almost every single one of those passes. But it opens up everything for him. I think Michael Thomas's value stays the same, doesn't really go up or down. I mean, the ceiling is sky's the limit for him. Alvin Kamara is always going to get his touches. I mean, if you look at the history of the Saints and Sean Payton offenses, that joker position, as they call it, that running back that can do it all. Think about Darren Sproles and what he used to be for the Saints.
He revolutionized that position.
Exactly. And they drafted Kamara specifically to fill that role. And you saw what happened his rookie year, and he's continuing it in the sophomore season. So Kamara, his role is perfectly fine. That's not going to change. He's the joker on that team. That's what they call that position. And then Ingram. I mean, Ingram's going to be the between the tackles guy. He's still going to get some goal line looks. When they get in the red zone, I mean, Dez is a good red zone target as well. So if he still has any sort of explosiveness left in his game, which they're calling him fresh legs. I mean, and he should be fresh. I mean, that's what's exciting. I agree with your assessment as far as him being a flex, a wide receiver 3, but I disagree as far as that being like his ceiling. I think Dez's ceiling, like he could have 30-point games. There could be games where he goes 6 catches, 134 yards, 2 touchdowns. Like that's realistic in this offense. And there's going to be a couple of games left on their schedule that they're going to have to throw the ball. So there's going to be some high scoring affairs. There's going to be chances there. Is the volume going to be there? Is Dez going to get 10, 11, 12 targets a game?
No,
probably not. Unless there's an injury to either Traquan or Michael Thomas. I don't see that happening. And then also, Keith, where I have to differentiate with you a little bit is, it's not going to be as simple as just learning the route tree or running the routes. The Saints offense is one of the most complex in the league. I mean, Drew Brees is very cerebral. I mean, he breaks down defense pre-snap. There's a lot of
you got to know the audibles, you got to know the hand signals,
right? So I think you can expect to see kind of what happened with Josh Gordon, because that's a similar situation with Josh Gordon had to get integrated in New England with Tom Brady. Exactly. You're going to see him come out, probably play maybe 18 snaps, 18, 25 snaps this first game. The next game, he might play like 50 snaps. And then, the game after that will probably be like 90% of the offensive snaps. Yeah. But it's going to be a little bit of a process.
Well, that kind of thing, obviously, also that affects his fantasy outlook.
Right.
At least at the beginning as well.
Don't get it twisted. I mean, Dez, even if he's only on the field for 10 plays, I mean, he could very well just break off a 50, 60-yard play or catch a touchdown on one of those plays. Yeah. I mean, you don't really need to know too much about the offense if you're inside the 20-yard line as well, and they just say, hey, Dez, go run a fade, or, you know what I mean? Back corner, just whatever, throw it up to him. So I think they're going to try to get him involved. Oh, and by the way, the Saints play the Cowboys revenge game. Definitely going to want to start him if you got him on your team when that game comes around. I think he will go off big time against the Cowboys.
Dallas is horrible. But anyways, I think that was a really good question, Jake. I really I enjoyed that. And Dez, he might end up being a significant player for whoever. I think, who was it? Nico held on to him this whole time?
Nico had him the whole year. I think I drafted him. I'm pretty sure I drafted him in this league or East Coast Elite, and then I ended up releasing him. I was able to snag him in East Coast Elite, but Nico had him for ever since week 4 or 5.
Okay, so let's get into the matchups here. Obviously, this is the bread and butter of the league. This is where the men are separated from the boys.
Now, bitches.
Week 10 matchups. Let's get it going.
Okay, so first matchup here is the number 4 absolute units versus the number 1 current leader, Gotcha Thielen Gurley. And
wow.
I think, Fidelli, that one is on you. Go ahead and break it down.
All right. Well, right now, Yahoo has it projected absolute units 131.27 to Gotcha Thielen Gurley at 128.99. It's a 52% favorite. They got it as a coin flip. Let's look at the quarterbacks. Russell Wilson for Keith at LA. That's going to be tough. And then you have Matt Ryan at Cleveland. Cleveland's defense, they're not bad, but I think I said it on last week's show. At this point in the season, they're starting to get a little worn down. They're the juice from the beginning of the season, all that excitement is starting to wear down. So I think Matt Ryan should be able to put up good numbers in Cleveland. Russell Wilson At LA, though, that's going to be tough. I'm going to give the edge at quarterback to Dan, and that could be a big edge. I could see Matt Ryan going for 30 to 40, and I could see Russell Wilson getting like 18. So that could be a big matchup right there. At wide receiver, the number 1 seed Dorf does have Woods at home against that Seattle team.
He's got Thielen on a bye this week.
Fitzgerald, and then he's going against Marvin Jones and Julian Edelman. Keith, both your receivers on the road at Tennessee and at Chicago. Marvin Jones Jr., he's good, but he never got the volume. I know Golden Tate's gone now, but you saw what happened last week without him. They really struggled.
Matt Stafford got sacked 10 times.
He did. 10 sacks.
Edelman's always good for targets, and he's one of Brady's go-to guys.
Jones got 8 targets last week.
Yeah. He led
and they were behind the entire game.
Because Matt Stafford got sacked 10 times.
And then what he put up last week?
Like 10 points. I think he had 6 catches, like 70 yards.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that's the thing. I mean, he could go off maybe 2-3 times a year. I don't really like Heath's receivers here. I'm going to definitely give the edge to Dorf, considering he has Devin Funchess in his flex, and that's tonight at 8:20 at Pittsburgh. It's going to be a big game, and Funchess is the exact opposite of Edelman, where I was going to go with that. Is Edelman doesn't really get too many looks in the red zone. He scores every now and then, but he's not really a big touchdown guy at this point. Funchess on the other end, he's a big body, big target, and I think really the only true number 1 receiver. I mean, they got some young guys there, but I think Funchess will get a couple looks tonight. He should score. Fitzgerald at Kansas City, they're going to be behind. KC's going to put up points. I mean, he might get 12 targets. He might catch 6 balls and maybe a touchdown. You never know. But Josh Rosen's pretty bad, at least at this point. Edge is going to go to Dorf for receivers. Looking at the running backs, Tavon Coleman and Todd Gurley at Cleveland and versus Seattle, going against Zeke at Philly and Connor tonight against Carolina. And then Keith is also starting James White in the flex. Going with a 3 running back approach. Now, James White, everybody knows he can catch passes too.
8 a game.
It's hard to go against Zeke, Connor, and James White. But I really don't like the matchups. I know Tennessee is Tennessee, but if Mariota is really starting to feel better, it is a home game. They're technically still in the playoff hunt. I mean, this is a big game for them, and their defense hasn't been bad. I think they could give the Patriots some trouble, but James White still have 8 catches, 88 yards, and 10 carries for 55 yards. And you know what I mean? So the edge, this is close. But Keith has an extra running back. So I'm going to give the edge to Keith. He's got 3 going, and Dorf only has 2. When you look at the tight end, O.J. Howard against Jack Doyle, going against 2 decent defenses in Jacksonville and Washington, I'm going to make that a wash. And I don't really look at kickers or defenses unless it's significant. Although the Jets defense against Buffalo, anybody against Buffalo. Overall, though, I'm going to give the edge to Dorf. I think Dorf wins this matchup. I think he has better players at better matchups this week. So and I think he's going to edge out Keith.
You think Dorf squeaks it out with Adam Thielen and Lamar Miller on bye weeks?
Lamar Miller has never been a solid fantasy football player. I mean, regardless of what you ever read in somebody's column. Thielen is a stud.
I'm just saying he was on his bye.
He's on a bye. I'm looking at who he's starting. I just broke down every position. I gave you my reasoning, and you might be a little upset because you're going to be on the losing side, but get over it, dude. Your team's going to lose this week. Just letting you know.
Okay. Well, okay. There's Josh's take on the matchup. Hopefully it doesn't happen for my sake, but good luck to you, Dorf. Now the next matchup we have here is the number 2 Sean Archer versus number 3 Kiss the Baby. Why don't you go ahead and run with that one, Jake?
Kiss the Baby. Well, Sean Archer, he always has high projections, rightfully so. I think he's at 151 to about 126 for Kiss the Baby, but right off the bat, it comes down to the quarterbacks. He has Patrick Mahomes, and I always think that's an advantage. They're playing Arizona this week.
Yeah, he's going to ball out all over them.
He's going to ball out it really depends, but I don't see him slowing down to maybe the fourth quarter when they're beating Arizona by 30. Maybe they'll start just running the ball or changing up the offense. But he is playing against Rivers. You never know the Rivers, and they are playing Oakland at Oakland. I'm still going to give it to Mahomes, though, for the QB slot. So I think Sean Archer gets +1 right away.
Yeah.
And then when you go and look at the wide receivers, he's got Michael Thomas. He's got Mike Evans. And then Kiss the Baby is playing Ridley and Gordon this week. Who's he have on his bench? Oh, he has Sammy Watkins.
Sammy Watkins.
Hopkins has a bye.
Yeah.
No, it's questionable. He's playing. Sammy Watkins is playing against Arizona.
He hasn't played. He hasn't practiced all week.
He's not out, so who knows what's going to happen with that. If he does end up playing, I would personally play Sammy Watkins over Ridley, just plus for the fact that he has Patrick Mahomes. So that could kind of be a little bit of offsetting whenever he does throw those touchdowns. I mean, Watkins has been going off the past few weeks. But regardless, I still give the edge for wide receivers to Sean Archer. And then if you look at running backs, Kiss the Baby's got a couple good studs. He's got Christian McCaffrey, Joe Mixon. McCaffrey plays against Pittsburgh tonight against Aaron Jones and Barkley. I think that McCaffrey and Barkley are very similar. I think Barkley's better, but for fantasy-wise, I'm going to give those two specific ones a wash, and then I think Mixon is better option compared to Aaron Jones.
Yeah.
I'm going to give this one slight edge to Kiss the Baby. And then as far as tight ends, Greg Olsen over Zach Ertz. I give the edge to Zach Ertz just because he's a stud and they are playing Dallas Cowboys who suck.
But Greg Olsen could go off tonight. Pittsburgh's pretty bad against tight ends.
He could. Not saying he's bad. I just think Zach Ertz is more –
he's like a number one receiver in that offense.
He's more consistent. And then –
Carson Wentz loves him.
Right. And then as far as, I mean, has Olsen really had a breakout game? He scored a couple touchdowns here and there.
He's also been hurt a lot.
Yeah. He hasn't, busted out for 8 grabs, 140 yards, 2 touchdowns like Zach Ertz that has, 2 or 3 times.
No, I'm with you 100%. Zach Ertz is definitely the number one option at the tight end position, period. But I'm just saying tonight, don't be surprised if Olsen catches a touchdown or 2. He really could have a big game.
Oh, he definitely could. That's what he's relying on, though, that touchdown pass, which could happen. You're right. But flex, Alshon against Smith. Smith, again, like Olsen, he's a touchdown stealer for the Falcons. He steals it away from Coleman a lot. But that's really his only upside. He has to score. If not, he could have a 4 or 5 point week, So Alshon, he's been really good since he came back. I think I'm going to give that edge to Alshon as well. But overall, I think Sean Archer wins. He finishes after this week 7-3, and Jimmy goes to a 6-4.
Okay. Next matchup we have here, that would be the 7 versus 9. That would be Slam Pig Incorporated versus Gail Benedict. Obviously, a highly touted matchup just because the amount of shade that is thrown between these two parties. So let's get right into it here. Cam Newton versus Ryan Fitzpatrick. Interesting because Cam Newton is obviously he's not amid any QB controversy. He's a running back that throws the ball. He gives himself red zone opportunities. So a lot of potential for Cam there. But also, like we saw in the first couple of weeks in the beginning of the season, Ryan Fitzpatrick, when he has time to throw and he decides to be accurate, he can throw 4 touchdowns and 400 yards. So, given that, I still am going to give the nod to Cam just because I don't think Washington is, even if Ryan Fitzpatrick is going off and he's firing off on all cylinders, Washington doesn't have the guns to make that game a shootout. So he's not going to need to throw that much. So I don't see that happening. Move on to wide receivers.
Hey, just so you know, bud, if everything holds up as is, my lineup is probably going to have Brandon Cooks in the flex where I have Doug Martin.
Yeah, I'm going to have to get through all this because you both are amidst a bunch of crazy trade.
Yeah, he doesn't have a running back right now at the moment, but he should be getting Jordan Howard.
Possibly.
Right.
Still haven't had votes.
Yeah, I'll keep that in mind.
That's true.
So, wide receivers, Devontae Adams and Antonio Brown, Deshaun Jackson, Marquez Valdez-Scantling. Clear nod goes to Triggus on that one. Devontae and Antonio. I mean, Deshaun Jackson, like I said, he's completely dependent on the game script with Fitzmagic. So
you never know.
You never know. If Alex Smith shows up and starts slinging it around and all of a sudden that game's a shootout, that helps Josh out a lot. However,
I wouldn't mind like 3 touchdowns from him.
Yeah, if that doesn't happen and they just hand the ball off to Adrian Peterson for no yards the whole game, then that hurts. So it's tough on that one. But Valdez-Scantling, Aaron Rodgers loves him. He's been a hot waiver wire pick.
He's the number 2 receiver in Green Bay now.
Yeah.
On the opposite side of Devontae.
Unfortunately, he has Devontae. So that doesn't help him at all.
Unfortunately, Devontae's going to get a lot of Xavier Howard. And the Dolphins don't have a second corner on that team, which means Scantling could catch a 50-yarder.
Randall Cobb's about to go off.
Well, if you guys watch the Houston game against Miami on primetime, all those big touchdowns.
Nobody watched that game.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, I did. And somebody on the Packers offense is going to have a big day. Yeah. And it's definitely going to be A-Rod.
Listen, any way you slice it, I still have to give the nod before this game goes down to Triggus. It's Devontae and Antonio, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so moving on to running backs. Running backs, this is going to be hard to, well, not hard, but there's going to be a little bit of speculation because we're not exactly sure who Triggus is going to be starting given the trades that are in flux right now. So Mark Ingram and Kerryon Johnson. Mark Ingram, obviously, you can go off his points are completely dependent upon game script. So, you know, I
don't think that's true, though. The game script is to always give him 12 to 15 carries. That is the game script. You know what you're going to get with Mark Ingram.
Right,
so
okay.
Be clear there.
Even, you know? With that being said, he still doesn't beat out
Melvin. He just went against the best defensive line last game. That's why he didn't do much.
So, yeah, he's gonna perform better this week. Does he perform better than Melvin Gordon at Oakland? I don't think so.
Probably not. Yeah.
Definitely not.
So
not definitely.
Yes.
Not definitely.
Definitely.
You never know.
Melvin
could score a couple.
I do know.
Well, Melvin Gordon.
I'll slap bet you right now.
You want to slap bet me?
Yeah.
No, I'm not going to slap bet you that Ingram's going to have a bigger day than Gordon. It's very likely, but it's not definite. There are a lot of things that could happen, including injury. Melvin Gordon is very injury prone. Let's not forget. And I mean, I'm not trying to jinx a guy, but I'm trying to jinx Trickus. So, you know, if something happens to Melvin Gordon, Mark Ingram could have a bigger day. That's all I'm saying.
Okay. So moving on. Kerryon Johnson in Chicago.
No one.
So far, I'm winning that matchup.
So
Trickus, an empty slot.
Right. So Trickus is either playing Sony Michel or he's playing Jordan Howard.
He's got Mike Davis in the slot, though, too. He could put Mike Davis up there or any one of the backup running backs he has on his bench. I think he's got like 3 backup running backs.
No, he has Giovanni Bernard and Malcolm Brown, the backup to Gurley.
He's got C.J. Anderson and Rex Burkhead as well.
Yeah, I don't think any person that he would put in that second slot is better than Kerryon. I don't. So I'm gonna give it the nod to you there, Josh. Even though Kerryon, I give you the RB2 nod. Even though Kerryon is going into Chicago, the RB2 for Gail Benedict is just not a good state of affairs there. So moving on to tight end, Jimmy Graham versus Evan Ingram. Jimmy Graham gets a clear nod on that one.
Clear?
No way. It's definitely not clear.
Clear.
Evan Ingram playing San Fran.
And he's a stud coming off a bye, bro. What are you talking about?
Okay. No, there's nothing you guys can tell me that'll get me high on Evan Ingram until you can
Keith,
prove
you want a slap bet? Because that's one I'll slap bet.
Okay.
Why?
Keith won't slap bet. He's too much of a baby.
It's one slap.
It's
one slap. Bro, if you're right, you can slap me in the face. Haven't you always wanted to slap me? Like your entire life. I know you wanted to slap me like multiple times. I've seen it in your eyes. I can name like 3 moments off the top of my head where you wanted to slap me in the face. Yeah, I'm giving you a chance to right now. Slap bet me that Jimmy Graham will score more points than Evan Ingram. That's your bet.
He won't do it.
That's your bet.
No, I'm not going to do it.
Why won't you
do it? Here's why I'm not going to do it. Okay.
I'm scared.
Because you're a bitch.
You're scared, bro. You're scared. Oh.
Evan,
when Eli can
stay off his back and then all of a sudden be accurate again, I will trust Evan Ingram. Until that happens, which hasn't happened all season, I would not trust Evan Ingram.
Overall, it's a higher chance to happen this game, though.
No.
This is probably like only the fourth time in the last, probably the first time, considering Saquon was drafted this year, that Eli Manning's had a healthy Saquon Barkley, Odell Beckham, Sterling Shepard, and Evan Ingram.
Great. Who's blocking for him?
They're going against San Fran, and it doesn't really matter because if you can't put up numbers against another 1-7, 2-17, whatever the hell they are, then it really is the end of Eli in New York, and it's going to happen before the end of the season.
Right.
So we're going to see.
Eli, so.
And I think you're wrong, but you should slap at me. Come on, the viewers want to see it,
I'm not gonna,
bro.
No, I'm not doing that.
Come on.
So flex play. Josh currently has Doug Martin and Gail Benedict has Mike Davis.
Possibility to change, though.
No, I told you I'm going to start Cooks if everything holds up, which it should.
Okay, so you want me to base it off Brandon Cooks versus
whoever he puts. If you veto that trade, then I'm not going to pay you out in East Coast Elite if you win anything.
Yeah, that's called blackmail. That's called blackmail, and that's illegal. But anyways,
can't prove it.
Overall,
we definitely can. You just said it on a recorded video chat.
This
you got
is
your face and everything.
This
dude.
is all an
face
act.
Recognition.
Anything that we say on this show, it's in the fine print underneath the video description. We cannot be held liable for. It was all written for us by writers, and if you want to contact the writers of the show, just text.
Or email Trickus.
Chris Trickus.
Just contact Trickus.
Up his number right
if you
now.
have a problem with the show, just feel free to get hold of Trickus however you can.
He is our PR rep. So
he's our PR guy. Josh, I think we lost you on the video there. So if you want to fix that, go ahead.
He's back.
But also, just moving forward, I can't be held accountable for what I'm about to say, but I think Josh loses this week to Trickus. So we're gonna move on.
You're such a dork.
Oh my god.
Yeah. So you can be mad about that one. Well, whatever.
I'm not mad because I probably will lose, but I think I could beat him.
Yeah,
I really do.
You better hope for some.
Anybody can beat anybody, so we'll see.
Okay, moving on. Next one is what we've deemed the toilet bowl. That is the 11.
Yes.
The 12. Buddy. Blue Jesus chicken wing versus the Balls Deep All-Stars. I would just like to mention real quick that Blue Jesus Chicken Wing is currently on a 1-win streak. Does he keep it going? Josh.
Shit, 1-win winning streak. Yeah, boy, Casey. All right, so this game, if it was played in 2019, would be even more important because in 2019, there's going to be a punishment for the last team placed team at the end of the year. Whatever I was trying to say there. You guys know what I meant by that. So to stay out of that punishment slot this year, we have the two worst teams going at it. Two good friends. I really like John. I really like Casey. They're good dudes. They're good. They're best buds, but they're not that good at fantasy football. And I mean, you can just tell looking at these rosters, and it's usually every year. I mean, it's pretty bad. It's pretty barren. But I will say this: just looking at the big names, Leonard Fournette. It's the first time I've seen his name in a lineup in a long time. That's a good sign.
Gonna get hurt in the first quarter.
It's probable. It could happen. You never know. And plus, we don't know what he's going to get as far as a workload. But big names, right? You got Fournette. He's also got, talking about Grono, Travis Kelce at the tight end position, and Tom Brady at the quarterback position. So he does have some really big names. Also, Kenny Galladay, Sterling Shepard, Jalen Richard. Oakland's probably going to be behind throwing the ball, so he's got a little bit of value. Theo Riddick in the same kind of game theory. Problem is Theo Riddick really hasn't been that prominent this year, especially with the addition of Kerryon Johnson. So looking down the other side, talk about superstars. You got Kareem Hunt. He's the starting running back on the number 1 offense in the league, and I love him. He's one of the best in the league. Really, besides Kareem, Casey's team's hurting, but Casey's team did get a little bit better with Amari Cooper getting traded to Dallas. Just by volume alone, I think Cooper is going to be.
They're going to throw the ball.
Yep, he's going to be a good receiver.
Accurate, I can't say.
Danny Amendola for the Dolphins. Questionable. Problem is our offense is it's not bad, but when you got Brock Osweiler slinging the rock, you never know what's going to happen. It's sketchy. Matthew Breida, who really is the only guy left in San Fran's backfield besides Alfred Morris. I think Alfred Morris is still healthy and usable. But Breida has shown if Breida's healthy, he's another one that just every week it's like something else is wrong with him. But if he plays and gets at least 15 touches, I'm confident Breida will score like 15 and 20 fantasy points. He's good. Watson at tight end.
Before Breida got hurt, he led the league in rushing.
Yeah, no, and they're big plays too. Like he's explosive and he can catch the ball. So he's a very good back. It's just the injuries. You really don't know. But he does have – I mean, if Breida plays to his potential and stays healthy and Kareem Hunt just does what Kareem Hunt does, that is a huge amount of points right there. That's potentially 40, 50, upwards to 60 points alone in those two players. I don't really see that production on grown – well, I take that back because Kelsey could easily have a 20 to 30 point day. Brady's going to have 25 to 35 points. Galladay could have 25 to 30 points. So
who are you giving the final nod to?
Looking at it overall, I do have to give it with their current construction as it stands. I have to give it to Casey because there's too much doubt, too much risk right now with Leonard Fournette, and I really don't like Theo Riddick in the slot. Looking at their bench, just in case, there's some somebody hiding over there. Grono's got nobody, really.
Nobody.
And neither does Casey. A lot of guys on a bye. So, yeah, I mean, as it stands, I think Casey gets the nod. Yahoo has him as a 56% favorite. That running back combination, if they both do what they're supposed to do, live up to their potential, it's going to be tough to overcome.
Right. Yeah. On that one, I would just like to say that, John is 1-8 right now, but he also is dealing with his top running backs were Devontae Freeman and Leonard Fournette. So when one doesn't play most of the season, the other one ends up on IR. That's a recipe for disaster, and I think that's exactly what we're seeing here. So,
but a good fantasy football GM would have made the right moves at the right times to still have a fighting chance, to still have a lineup that you can put out every week. That's what Grono didn't do because he's terrible at fantasy football. So I just want to put that in there.
Right. Okay. So moving on to the next one.
Just kidding, bud. I love you, KG.
That would be the 5 versus 8 Hank Mardukas versus Don Juan. Go ahead with that one, Jake.
Don Juan.
The Asian Italian persuasion.
Don Juan. Oh my gosh. Against Nico, Hank Mardukas. Well, let's break this down. Started from the top. You got Elite QB against Elite QB. Drew Brees going against Ben Roethlisberger. And I think I think that's a wash in any situation. They're both studs. I feel like Ben Roethlisberger somehow always gets 2 or 3 catches, 2 or 3 TDs a game. A lot. They throw the ball a lot. And Drew Brees, he has a lot of upside. I think a couple times this year though, he only had 10 points a couple times, but then he has 3 50-point games. So, but they're going at Cincy. Fidelia, how do you rank Cincy's defense in this matchup?
Not that good going against the Saints. I think New Orleans puts up 30+ points against Cincy. I really do.
To put it this way, somehow Pac-Man Jones is still playing football, and he's playing football for the Cincinnati Bengals.
All right, so I'm still going to give that a wash just because of who both the QBs are. And then if you go down to the Wide receivers. Nico's got Julio Jones, and he's got Cooper Kupp compared to Smith-Schuster and T. Williams for the Chargers for Don Juan. Based off of those two, I'm going to give the edge to Hank Mardukas. Obviously, he's got Julio Jones, who is going to be a stud. And then if he ends up scoring a touchdown, too, which he doesn't do a lot for the last few years, but if he does,
but maybe last week was getting the monkey off his back. And
yeah, he scored last week. Was that his first TD of the year?
First TD since last November. Last November.
Gosh. And last year, I think he had 1,500 yards, but he had 4 TDs, 3 TDs. Yeah, he does that every year. And he does it. And I don't know, but if he scores, he's going to have 30 points. If he doesn't, he'll have 20. So either way, he's a stud. Cooper Kupp, he's coming back. He had a huge touchdown last week, coming back from his concussion. I give that edge over Williams. So right now, Hank Mardukas has 1 point advantage. And then if you look down to the running backs, Don Juan, Chubb for Cleveland, and Jordan Howard.
Don Juan running with the Chubb, huh?
With the Chubb.
Hey,
is it a quarter
he's been
Chubb?
doing
Is
it
a
since
half
8th grade
Chubb?
dance.
Nobody knows. Don Juan wants a full Chubb, though. I know that.
If that isn't fate, I don't know what is.
And then he's got Jordan Howard, who might, if the trade goes through, I think it's going to go through. I just checked the text. I think Grono just passed it. So essentially, that's actually going to be Sony Michel, and he's going against David Johnson and Smallwood.
Chubb versus Smallwood.
Wow, we got the battle of the Chubbs and Smallwood, man.
Versus Johnson and Smallwood.
Wow. It's a bunch of dicks out there, huh?
D. Johnson.
Well, this is Don Juan 08. There was a lot of Johnsons. There was a lot of Chubbs.
And a lot of Smallwoods.
A lot of Smallwood.
There's a lot going on there. But overall, I think this edge has to go to Kinto, actually. Just barely. I feel like David Johnson is really good, but Smallwood, they have offensive. The running backs, they split 3 different players. I think they just had someone got a lot of carries to it. I forget his name, Adams or something.
Josh Adams. Yeah, Josh Adams.
They pretty much split carries. Darren Sproles hurt right now. I don't think he practiced today, but
I think he's more injury news for him. I don't think he's going to come back this year.
I don't trust that backfield at all. So I'm going to give the edge a little bit to Kinto. And then if you look at tight ends, Jordan Reed.
Questionable.
Questionable.
The man made of glass.
I hate everybody on the Redskins offense all the time, period.
I agree.
It's just horrible.
I think he's questionable just because he's not practicing and he doesn't need to practice. They don't want him to get hurt before the game. Probably just going to hold him off until the weekend.
Right. I'm just saying that the Redskins brought in Captain Checkdown because they thought he was going to be the savior, and he's not. So.
Well, look at their record though. They're 5-2.
5-3, I think.
Yeah, it's 5-3. They're 5-3, man, and they're, I believe, in first place in the NFC East, right?
They are. That's not hard to do.
That's not hard to do, and you could just thank Adrian Peterson for that. So,
hey, man,
the 32-year-old stud.
They're winning football games, and they beat good teams. I'm
going to give that a wash. I think that tight end position, it could go either way. So, and then you have Allen Robinson against C. Davis. I think Allen Robinson's overrated. I like C. Davis. If Marcus Mariota actually comes back and from his injury, I know he was doing good last week from his tingling in his hands. I'm going to give that edge to C. Davis just by a little bit.
And they Mariota likes him in the red zone. He looked at him a lot.
Well, he's probably the only true outside receiver on that roster. He's got the talent, he's got the pedigree. They got Taiwan Jones or Taiwan Taylor. They got another kid that just showed up on it, Tajay Sharp. It's a bunch of no names in that receiving core. And Corey Davis, I don't know if you know anything about Corey Davis, Jake. He was highly touted coming out of the draft. He was a very high draft pick for him. I think he was a top 10 draft pick.
Yeah, he was
2 years ago.
And then R.I.P. Delaney Walker.
Yeah. So Corey Davis, he's got upside, man.
I agree. I'm going to give the edge to Hank Mardukas. I think that Yahoo has the projections right. Currently, he is a 59% chance of winning heading into the week. I think he pulls it out. He has a lot better lineup than last week. Let's put it that way. I think he had a lot of buys last week.
Yeah, I agree with you. Okay, so last matchup here is the 10 versus 6. That would be Jon Snow versus the Carpet Munchers. Which some of these names in our league are just ridiculous. But anyways, let's roll through this one. Jared Goff and Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers versus Miami at home, and Jared Goff versus Seattle at home. I think that's a wash to me. One can argue that the Dolphins have the better secondary of the two, but Seattle's secondary isn't anything to sneeze at either. And it's really hard.
Saying much.
Yeah, I mean, they're playing in Seattle. That's hard to do. Or no, they're not. So never mind. It's in
both games for the quarterbacks.
But I think what's more important to point out, though, about that matchup is the fact that those are division rivals, and it's a really big game because Seattle is still alive for the playoffs. I believe they're 5-4. They're right there around 500. And again, this is a division rivalry. They play each other twice a year for the last however many years they've been in that division. Right. So there's a lot of familiarity there. I don't think it's going to be your typical automatic write this one off for the Rams. Both these teams play a physical brand of football. It could be ugly. It could be tough. It could be high scoring. It could be like a 34-31 game. So
that's really what I think it's going to be. And here's the other thing that I have Goff in the other league, and I've been paying attention to him. Goff will, because of their offense, they'll run that stupid little jet sweep where Goff just throws it in front of him and Gurley catches it and runs for 50 yards, and that
counts as a pass
play. So
nothing wrong with that. I used to do that to Dahmers all the time.
Right. But I'm just saying he.
I think for fantasy purpose, I think that's such cheese, man, and I'm kind of upset because they do that on the daily fantasy sites.
It's not fantasy's fault that the NFL rule is if it's a forward pass,
it's a pass. It's a pass, right? I know, but a shovel pass should be if it's got They categorize shovel passes as a different kind of a pass. It should be a different kind of a stat or a metric that's recorded for fantasy purposes. You know what I'm saying? It's just
for fantasy purposes right now, it's not, and I think that matchup is a wash. So moving on to wide receivers, Keenan Allen and Jarvis Landry versus Tyreek Hill and Odell Beckham Jr. Statistically, you got to give the nod to Jon Snow there. Jarvis, great guy, led the league in receptions last year.
Great guy.
He's in Cleveland, and who knows the hell you have no idea what you're getting in Cleveland from a week-to-week basis.
Yeah. I thought Jon Snow had Landry.
No. Keenan Allen was touted as the, number one guy in the Chargers offense, which I guess he still is, but they throw that ball around so much that, what's the Williams tandem that they got there, Mike Williams and Tyrell Williams, they catch a lot of passes in touchdowns too. So it's like Keenan Allen is he's not a elite wide receiver one. He still is wide receiver one, but he's not Odell Beckham or Tyreek Hill level.
He's playing Oakland. I mean, you could catch passes against Oakland.
Right, but if they blow out Oakland, they're not going to throw passes anymore, which might
happen. But give it to Gurley.
He might have 5 catches for 100 yards and a touchdown in the first half.
He might, but I'm just saying, based on the projections, I don't think Tyreek Hill has been dealing with a groin injury. If that shows up, that's going to hurt Jake. But let's.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
I think Allen.
No.
You taking Hill over Allen this week? If you had to put one on your team to start this week, who are you going to start? Tyreek Hill against Arizona or Keenan Allen at Oakland?
Tyreek Hill home versus Arizona.
You both are Tyreek Hill going against one of the better secondary players in the league. I mean, Patrick Peterson ain't going to match up with him, but still.
No, he's not. Yeah, no. I give the wide receiver nod to Jake. Now, running backs, Alvin Kamara and Duke Johnson Jr., which we might see the resurrection of Duke Johnson Jr. now that the running backs coach is their offensive coordinator.
Yeah,
they got Chubb in the backfield.
Right. And then you got Tarik Cohen versus Kenyon Drake. Clear nod goes to the Carpet Munchers on that one. Chris Herndon and Austin Hooper. Austin Hooper has been quietly a top, I think 6 or 7 tight end this year. Matt Ryan always seems to find him for at least 60, 70 yards, and then sometimes he'll slip in for a touchdown.
He's got to score. If he scores, he gets 15 points. He doesn't, he gets 7.
Chris Herndon in. So Sam Darnold has been thrown to him, but Sam Darnold also throws 4 picks.
Sam Darnold's out. He's not playing this week, which means
he's not. It's McCown's in there?
McCown. That's an upgrade for the Jets offense. And Herndon's been even quieter than your boy Hooper, bro. He's got a touchdown 3 of his last 4 weeks.
Yeah, but he's not going to be there. It's going to be Kittle, and I think Kittle's better.
And they're also playing you're right. It is going to be Kittle, isn't it?
Ooh, yeah.
Well, Kittle's gets that nod.
Okay. He's the number 1 option in San Fran.
Moving to flex play. Tyler Boyd versus Randall Cobb. To me, AJ Green's out for at least 2 weeks. Tyler Boyd was balling out before AJ Green went out. He's going to continue to ball out. Randall Cobb, he just hasn't been he hasn't been Tyler Boyd status at all this year, and he just hasn't been really a huge he hasn't been putting up huge points for what seems to be a long time in that offense. If I were reaching for a Green Bay wide receiver, I would rather have Valdez-Scantling than Randall Cobb at this point. But
I got Scantling.
Yeah, you never know.
I just want to let you know.
Like you said, yeah, Xavier Howard.
I'm playing him because I have Rodgers on my as my quarterback.
Yeah, so you're trying to stack there, which is possible. It's possible, and you don't have the option of a Demaryius Thomas this week because of the bye. So obviously you're kind of stuck there.
Yep.
Overall, I think it's going to be really close. Really close, just because of so many implications, especially with Tyreek Hill. He might not go off, or he could. Who knows how the injury affects him.
He's going to get 35.
Yeah, Jake, you really need your running backs.
Probably not.
You really need your running backs to show up this week for you to have a shot. You need Kenyon Drake and Tarek Cohen to do something. You really do.
So you're giving it to Brad?
With that being said, I do give the nod to Carpet Munchers. Jake does have a chance to win, especially if Tarek Cohen and Kenyon Drake show up, and those game scripts versus Detroit and at Green Bay, if those are high-scoring games, which they look like they may be, Tarek Cohen's going to eat. He's going to catch some passes, and if Adam Gase can figure out that Kenyon Drake is the best player on his team, maybe he'll give him the ball more than 10 times a game. And
yeah, but again, there's because of where we're at. It's a timeshare. Frank Gore, unless he gets hurt, Frank Gore is going to get 15 carries. It's just like Ingram and Kamara, except it's Frank Gore and
you're giving the ball to Frank
Except
Gore.
It's the Dolphins, and that's
it doesn't make any sense.
It's two different, exactly.
To me,
yeah, it's a time split.
The fact that Frank Gore is getting actual carries over Kenyon Drake.
Don't be
ridiculous.
disrespecting the 6th all-time rusher in NFL league history. I believe 6, or he might have just jumped up the chart. But when he runs, bro, he's still running like he's 29, 28 years old, man. He gets 3-4 yards every time, and that's why we play him, bro. He puts his head down, and he gets
Drake
positive yards.
Can actually break a 60-yard touchdown.
Right. Kenyon Drake definitely has the explosiveness, but the problem is if we hand him the ball 20 times a game, he's going to get crushed. I mean, we really don't have that great of an offensive line, nor do we really have a run scheme type of an offense. So when Frank Gore's in, we go power, we just go straight forward, and we get 3-4 yards, 3-4 yards, 3-4 yards. And then we'll throw Kenyon Drake in for a 3rd down. He'll catch a pass for 20 yards. So, I mean, he has the big play potential. He's the back you want in Miami, but you don't really want to have any backs in Miami on your team. And if you do, it kind of sucks.
Yeah.
That's how that goes.
Yeah, there's your in-depth Miami Dolphins backfield breakdown. But to wrap it all up here, the matchups wise, I give the nod to Carpet Munchers this week in that matchup. So that is all of the.
Let's roll through it real quick and see what the consensus are, if we have any. Starting with that 1 versus 4. Got you, Thielen Gurley, absolute units. I picked the 1 seed in Dorf. Keith, who are you rooting for, bud?
I picked myself, obviously.
No consensus, but Jake, what side are you going to take in this one?
Oh, man. So, absolute against Got you, Thielen Gurley. Let me just take a quick peek.
No, just real quick, off the top of your head, who you got?
I'm going to give the edge to Dorf.
Okay.
The 2-1 for Dorf.
Okay.
2 and 3.
Don Vaughn versus Mardukas.
Okay, we're doing Don Juan next. The 8 versus the 5. Jake, you picked Nico for that one?
Yeah.
Yep, Mardukas.
I think there's a lot of Chubbs. There's a lot of Johnsons. There's a lot of Smallwoods out there.
A lot of dicks flying around.
I know that Smallwood chubby Don's got right now looking at the matchups, man. So I'm going to go with Don Juan 08. I feel good about the Chubb over there.
I'm going to stick with Nico because he has more dicks on his team. So,
and you like dicks. Everybody knows that. So, I mean,
right. Yeah.
That makes sense.
Toilet Bowl, Blue Jesus Chicken Wing versus Balls Deep All Stars. Josh, you had Thorpe. I agree with you. I think Thorpe wins.
I agree.
Continues the win streak going there. Carpet Munchers versus.
Do you guys? Is he mathematically? If he wins out, he goes 6 and 7, right?
6 and 8. No. He's got 8 losses. No, he's got 7. You're right.
7. Yeah. So he goes 6 and 7, and maybe sneaks a 6 seed.
It's possible.
Could Casey get it? He's not eliminated.
It's happened before.
So we're all on the Blue Jesus Chicken Wing.
You got in.
I think
last year you got in at 6 and 7.
6 and 7. I did. I know,
yeah.
Dude. I like I said last week, I would not want to play Casey.
And you had Kareem Hunt.
It's the secret sauce, man. It's the secret sauce.
Okay. Carpet Munchers versus Jon Snow. I gave the nod to Carpet Munchers. How you feel about that, Josh?
I logically I have to agree, but there's just something in my heart that's telling me my boy's gonna pull it off this week. Talking about that Santino, aka Jon Snow, aka Big Daddy Jake. He's gonna pull off the upset here.
AKA I need Kenyon Drake.
Hey, Kenyon can do it.
Yeah,
Kenyon can do it.
Jon Snow came back to life once. He can do it again.
He can do it again. Yeah. Shout out to Game
Friends. I'm not done yet.
Okay, Kiss the Baby versus Sean Archer. I think we who was that? That was
Basla. I'm on Basla.
Yeah, that was Jake, and Jake picked Basla. I picked Basla too. Maybe if Sammy Watkins is healthy, that is a factor, but I think everybody's got Basla in that one. Slam Pig versus Gail Benedict. I gave the nod to Trickus. How you feel about that, Jake?
I'm gonna give the nod to Trickus.
Word.
Upset of the week? Upset of the week? I think it's technically not an upset being on the higher seed. But I think it's
not
possible.
Upset.
Yeah.
So did you pick Trim or did you pick me, Fideli?
I'm picking you, and I think you win this week.
Yeah.
So it looks like I got that one. So we got Dorf, Nico, Casey, myself, Basil, and Trickus winning this week. Let's see how it plays out. Last week we were 5 for 6. The only one that disappointed was myself, so I apologize about that.
Yeah.
5 for 6 is still a passing grade. Let's see how we make it out this week.
True. Very true. So,
sounds good.
What we can go into is our weekly "What's Up Trickus" sort of.
Oh my God.
We can hit that, but with that being said, I think we kind of hit on that earlier. What was up with Trickus was that whole collusion accusation.
Yeah,
and,
just
79 ways.
However,
getting into another talk about aliens and politics. Next thing you know, we'll be talking about the secret space programs. On the moon.
Yeah, for sure. So, guys, listen, if you like this podcast, if you like what you're hearing about your teams, then you guys are going to want to tune in to what we're going to have coming for you in the future. We're going to be doing a lot of different topics, a lot of crazy conversations. For those of you that know us, there have been some great conversations in the past that should definitely have been recorded. And now we're going to put it out there for the whole world to know how fucking crazy and wonderful we all are over here. So, give us a like, follow on Facebook, all 10 and 11, 12, however many people are in this
Show
league.
us some love.
Yeah,
we might have a guest on the show.
Yeah, I think we need to give Trickus a chance to defend himself.
You know, next week, let's get Trickus on here and let's see,
if he beats
let's ask him what's going on. We'll give him a chance to defend himself.
We'll give him a chance.
Yeah,
if he beats Fideli, we'll give him a chance.
I agree with that. All right, guys. Well, I got dinner waiting for me. I got to finish cleaning my fish tank, and I'm really just sick of talking to you guys. So this is me saying goodbye. It's been a wonderful day.
Later, boys.
This is the end of the Sailor Jerry Saturdays Fantasy Football Show Week 10 edition. Say goodbye, boys.
Adios.
Go Dez.